Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Rooks Milan Unboxing here. Sitting opposite from me is the IBO cruiserweight champion of the world. He's going to be the headline on the big card at Empress Palace on Saturday night from Golden Gloves. Welcome Kevin.
Thanks Rooks, thanks for having me. It's the first time I've been interviewed by you.
It's the first time I've actually met you in person this week.
Awesome.
We always seem to miss each other at these cards.
Yeah, so it's great to be on your show and talking boxing, and just fortunate enough to be fighting. I mean,
yes, that's a big thing, huh? It's the first time you're fighting this year. You fought in February in Germany. Yes. So at least you had a bit of action. Your opponent, Patrick Ferguson, he's had 2 fights this year. So then it's actually not too bad, but you know, thank heavens the fight is going ahead. We don't have any cancellations. We all tested negative.
Yes.
But let's start with you before we start on Saturday night's fight. What got you into boxing? Because you're actually from a horse racing family.
Sure. So obviously growing up, my whole family is steeped in horse racing tradition. Wanted to become a jockey, never could happen.
So it's never going to happen. Yeah.
So I went to a very good school called King Edward School, so I played a lot of rugby at school. So I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And then I was fortunate enough to be brought to the Smith's boxing gym. And so obviously, look, through school I trained with my brother every morning at another gym, actually with Wusi Mtolo as a personal trainer. He was my brother's personal trainer. I go to the gym in the morning and train. And I wanted to box, but obviously I had this dream and aspiration, but you can't just box. You can't just become a professional without any amateur experience. So I then started going to 1 or 2 amateur boxing clubs to try get fights. I couldn't get fights because I was a bigger guy at 17 years old. I was probably about 89, 90 kilos, like I am now.
Yeah, you're big for your age.
And you couldn't get matchups, or there were guys that are higher levels than you with the gradings and that kind. So I just was like, you know what, I'm giving up on this amateur thing. Let me just focus on rugby. But I was fortunate enough to meet Peter. And when I met Peter, he trained me for a full year, probably maybe even more. Sparred me with guys like Tabiso, welterweight Chris Van Heerden, Tapang Mohale. There's a lot of guys that I sparred to get experience and to learn the short part that I learned before I turned pro. And then he saw the talent in me and helped me. And I'm here today thanks to Peter. So
I was going to ask you why skip the amateurs. You know, we've had guys without amateur experience that became very good. Aladdin Stevens was a guy here in South Africa. But you've answered the question. There was just not any action for you, so you just went straight into the crowds.
I wouldn't say it's the best thing to do, because any experience you can get in the fighting is the best you can for yourself, you know. But I think it also can create bad habits. I've seen a lot of amateur fighters with good amateur pedigrees, I say, make nothing in the professional ranks because they bring those bad habits through. And Peter got to work with me almost like from grassroots level. So he's training and skill set what he wanted from me, he's installed in me for a very long time.
What are those bad habits? Obviously the distance that you have to go is vastly different.
Look, I think if you have to talk about bad habits, it's like small things. Like if you've got to prepare for a fight, but you set in your ways on doing one thing because that's what you've done your whole life, it's very hard to change that. Whereas if you've been taught only one thing and have only one voice talking to you, you can almost like evolve together, one, but two, you don't have the bad habits of like, I say bad habits because it might not be a bad habit, but for this trainer it might be a bad habit. And he doesn't want you to do that. But you're hard-headed because you've been doing that since you're 7 years old. But for this fight it might not be the best thing. And that's what I mean by like bad habits. I literally got one voice that talks to me in the corner, in the training camps, in the ring at sparring, and that one voice is the same voice that talks to me Monday to Friday in the boxing gym. So I feel like you can almost from grassroots level I'm where I am today. And
then you started with an 11-fight winning streak, I think. You were knocking guys out this way, that way, and then you took on Johnny Miller, who was a lot more experienced. And it was a close fight, but you had your first loss there.
Yes, and Johnny Miller had a couple of fights, and I think he had 20 fights, a whole heap of amateur experience. It was my 11th fight, or 12th fight, and I lost on point in a pretty close fight. And I just said to myself, you know, why did I lose? And it's not because I didn't work hard, because I ran, I trained hard. It was a skill set. You know, I needed to say to myself, I need to be superior than these guys, local guys. And Peter, and at that point I wasn't with Peter, and me and Peter just gelled well. And you know what? Sometimes a loss in life is your biggest victory, because I haven't looked back. So since 2014 I haven't lost a fight. And that is purely because I changed my mindset to become who I am.
Yeah, of course, you reversed that loss against Johnny in 2016. But you would agree there's maybe a bit too much emphasis on that these days in boxing. Sometimes you can have a good loss.
For sure. I think everyone wants an unblemished record, because a loss is on your record for eternity. It will go down forever. The day you die, it's on box records. It's there forever. But at the end of the day, sometimes you need a loss to teach you, to realize what you actually need, who you want, and what you need as a fighter and in your team. And also, if you were a late guy, so I wasn't a late, but it will make you wake up, you know.
Yes.
But sometimes, like, look at MMA fighters, they can have a record of like 20 wins and 10 losses, and they're still superstars.
Yeah.
Boxing, it's very much cutthroat with regards to losing.
Yes.
Sometimes a loss in a good performance doesn't do you wrong.
Much rather early
on that night, he was the better fighter, and well done.
Yeah.
But you got to look at in 4 years down the line, where are you, and where's the guy you lost to? That's how you evolve.
Well, you've avenged that loss long ago. I talked to Johnny earlier. He says if he beats Akani Puzi, he wants a rubber match. But we know the likelihood of that happening is very slim. So anyhow, so you went on, started competing internationally, and I think your first breakout win were the Twin Film, the Super 4. You faced a fellow unbeaten up-and-comer called Mickey Nielsen. Tough fight that.
It was a tough fight. Nobody thought I could win. They watched what he did to Johnny Miller. He decapitated Johnny Miller. Hit him from pillar to post for 10 rounds, however long it was. We had a game plan. Peter, we knew what we had to do. Hit, score, rattle him, tie him up, win the fight. Because at the end of the day, he was rated in the top 10 of the IBF and the WBA. At that point, I was on my 14th fight. And I knew when I beat this guy, I'm now in the ratings, I've beaten a good name. How am I going to beat him? Sometimes it's not the prettiest win, but just win, because it's going to get you to where you want to be. And here we are.
Because you started off as very marketable. I think I watched almost all your fights, maybe not the first few. But you started off as very marketable, exciting. You speak well behind the mic. The ladies like you. You've got an exciting style. And a lot of the people in boxing in the beginning thought, yes, you know, this guy's going to get fights. He's marketable. So, can he really go all the way? He's probably going to be a nice local attraction and so on. And then that Nielsen victory really put you, okay, you can go world level. So that must have given you a lot of confidence.
For sure. Look, Drix, I think you're always going to have your doubters in life, and in whatever you're doing. When you're doing well in life, people are not going to want to see you do well. It's how you act as a person and as a fighter and as an individual. So for me, it's always been about staying true to myself, staying true to my family, staying true to my trainer, and just winning. Peter knows, like, we talk about things. It's like a brother. I say to him, he'll say to me, he says, Kev, listen, we're going to fight. We got offered Gassiv. We got offered Lawrence Okoli last week. I went and sat. He said, Pete, what do you want to do? You know, we're there. The thing is, we're a team, and we're just going to go all the way. And the thing is, I have so much faith in Peter, and he has faith in me. We can't let each other down. The problem comes in is, like, when you're winning and losing, and people want to see you win and lose, they don't appreciate what you do for the sport, you know. And I think what people don't realize, they've got to realize and sit back and say, look at what this guy's done. I'm not talking about me, I'm talking about this guy's as a team. Me and Peter, look at what they've done.
For somebody with no amateur record, it's amazing, right?
That alone, and look at the guys we fought. So Mickey Nielsen, yes, he's a big name. Kalenga, big
that's
time.
the next one. That's where you won the vacant IBO belt. Yuri Kalenga, very dangerous guy.
Sure.
He had, at that time, he had a war against Vinel Dorticos.
Yes.
Who now is the most dangerous guy in the division, probably.
Yeah.
And it was an absolute war. And he beat good guys. So you fighting Yuri Kalenga. So take us to the lead up to that fight. How did you guys approach it?
You know, I've never dodged the fight, Crooks, and people maybe don't know this, but every name that Rodney Berman's thrown at Peter and I, Peter, if the money's been right, and it's only been once or twice where we've said, we would like more money for that guy. He's a world champion, you know. They said, will you fight this guy? Peter went, cool. That opponent changed 3 times. I was meant to fight Dorodola.
He's fighting Junior tomorrow.
Then he pulled out. I was meant to fight Maxim Vlasov.
Yeah.
Didn't happen. And then we got Kalenga with 8 weeks to go. So I was like, cool. I know all 3 of those guys are world level.
Yes.
Okay, so I was like, this is the good. I was very nervous. I was super nervous because years ago with what? It was my 19th professional fight.
Yeah, and Kalenga comes at you, eh? Don't call him the ball for nothing. He wants to take your head off.
And I was nervous, but I know what Peter, we had a game plan. And I should have knocked Yuri out because I hurt him. But because I was so nervous in a sense of like, just win the fight.
Don't just sort of box trade.
Don't be careless. And then there was a turning point when I realized, I sat in the change room after the fight, I realized I just beat Yuri Kalenga.
So from then on, you just kept on winning. There was Dimitri Kutcher as well, was a decent
top
fighter.
10 fighter, took Junior Macabre the distance.
Yes, you've defended the IBO belt 6 times. Now we are at the stage, you're 25-1. You are the IBO champion. People will say, okay, fine, that's not one of the big 4, doesn't carry that recognition. But if we look at it we take that aside for a moment, we look at it objectively. And everybody knows sanctioning body rankings is obviously important for you guys because that's the business. If you look from more like the fans' perspective and whatever, they'll look at the more independent rankings, which shows quality without that sort of sanctioning body bias. So if I look at the ring, which I write for, and if we look at the Transnational Boxing Ratings Board, those are probably the 2 most respected systems, right? Now you've got Maris Breeders on top, I think deservedly so, after this World Boxing Super Series, and then the top 10 with both guys put you exactly at number 5 in the world. Okay. So that means basically we've had IBF champions who never had that. So you are undoubtedly now among the best cruiserweights in the world, in a very stacked division. So there's a frustration there because the last few years, say 2020 is now a write-off for obvious reasons. 2019, after you came back from your shoulder injury, there was an Arthur Mann fight. It looked like $1 million that night. And then it sort of started treading water. Those really big fights, Firat Arslan had a name, but he was older. Those really big fights just didn't happen. What was the problem?
So I can't talk on why they didn't happen because we want the fights. I want to be the best cruiserweight in the world.
The goal has always been to get all the belts.
Of course,
yes.
But here's the thing: there's also value, and I think I'm 2 in the IBF now.
I think number 2 or 3, yes.
Yeah,
I think
and WBA 2.
I think so.
And the WBC I was 4, then they moved me into the Bridgerweight division to 3. Okay, you know that new weight division.
The new weight division, we're going to touch on that too.
Okay, plus the IBF champion. Now the thing is for me is I want to win the IBF belt. So we got a potential fight against Jay Okwatai. Okay.
I know there's always options.
There's a potential fight against Ryan Murray for the WBA World Championship because Gulamarian's the super champion and they have the WBA World Championship. Okay, so we had those options.
We've
on the table
quite some time.
On the table talking about them. Okay. What makes us not want to go to Australia for an eliminator? I personally will go anywhere in the world. I've gone to Germany to defend my belt.
Yes.
Then we all know about Germany.
Yeah, Germany's tough.
Okay?
Yeah.
But Australia for an eliminator.
We've had that thing in the Porter Williams.
So send me to Australia for the IBF world title.
Yes.
Throw the dice. I'll knock Jay Okwatai out. But I'm at a point in my career now, I'm trying to say to myself, I'm in a hustling position. I'm like, I want the best fight. My trainer wants the best fight for me. And I can promise you now, Drooks, and I'll tell you this humbly and honestly, I'll beat the cruiserweights when they stand in front of me. I can promise you now. Braiders, Macabre, I'll beat them all.
Who would you like to fight if if I was a promoter? I write the check, the amount is what you guys want, it's market related and all that. If you could have that, if you want to put that aside, who in the cruiserweight division is there that you would like to fight?
Junior Macabre.
Junior Macabre.
Yes.
That's a huge.
He's a beast. He's a great champion. He's a great champion, and his trainer knows that too. When me and Junior were ranked, I think at one stage the rankings came out. I was 2 in the WBC as 1 for a short stage. And then they shuffled the rankings due to politics. Who knows why? But WBC there.
Yes.
Damien phoned me and said, Kevin, if this fight happens, it has to be for big money. I said, agreed. Agreed.
That is agreed, yes.
Junior Macabre is a beast. I respect that man. He's a beast of a fighter, but so is Kevin Lerena. And I'm willing to prove that to the world. When people standing there with me, they'll see.
You guys got very contrasting styles. You both southpaws.
Yeah.
You have very different styles. It could be a great fight.
It's a great fight, and that's a fan-friendly fight. Now, if you had to say to me, who would you want to fight? Now, I can pick a cruiserweight champion and go, Murray.
Yeah.
It's an easier fight for me.
Yes.
Right to chase at Junior McCarver, can I tell you what? In my opinion, he's doing so well in the cruiserweight division. He's the WBC champion. He's a beast of a fighter. But I believe in myself and I back myself. And the best need to fight the best, so that's a fight I want.
The pity about a fight like that, you know, I saw a little cartoon on Facebook about Joshua and Fury landing in Arab Emirates. I kind of feel like that with that, you know, because it's a pity that such a huge fight is not in Britain, if that is at all true. I think it's just a picture. But you and Maccabi, should it ever happen, may well land up overseas on some card in Europe or wherever,
Look,
and
I mean,
that is a big pity.
I want big fights too. I mean, I'll be honest with you,
Yeah.
because boxing is a warrior sport, and you're going to win fights and you're going to lose fights, but your legacy and your dignity is what you leave behind in the sport. And for me, I want big fights. There's no bullshitting about it. Rodney Berman knows that, but we're also not stupid. You can't be going into big fights for...
You want a fair shake from the judges, number one.
Number one,
which is hard to
judges,
do.
fight purses, because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, when you retire from the sport of boxing, what have you done? Have you prostituted yourself?
Yes.
Or have you been a shrewd businessman and a champion that says, pay me my worth? So for me, it's just about timing as well. So I think people need to have a little bit of patience, because I think a lot of things are out of my control, out of Peter's control. Who they say, guys, he has an opponent for you, you'll be defending your hobby or whatever. We say, cool, that's a fight one. I get to keep busy, I get to build experience, I get to innovate myself.
Yes, you've got to stay busy, otherwise you drop out of
A fighter who's not active, you might as well,
Yeah.
I'll say it's a dead fighter, because you're just going to regress. Like if Peter changed me to and then my next fight I'll fight in a year's time and I take off training, you're just going to go and only get back to that level. But if you keep fighting, you can progress and not regress.
Yes.
So I think people need to realize that we're on a journey together, and at the end of the day, what will be will be. But there's no fighter that I won't fight.